Hey there, my name's Curtis Lucas, and you're watching Empire Building. So, yet another day in the crypto mining stock sector that just does not make a whole lot of sense. I can just feel the frustration that's out there. But for those holding Bit Digital and Argo stock today, life can't be better. Bit Digital closed the day up 33.5%, closing the day off just below $30 a share. Hard to believe considering 5 business days ago, this stock was trading below $7. But this only outlines the reality of how fast these stocks move. But I must warn you, none of this really has a whole lot to do with fundamentals. You can go and search for any number of reasons why this stock should go up today and this stock should go down today. The reality is the people in this space today go where they make money. They'll find a way to explain it later. But it is that herd mentality that is going to lead many to the slaughter. Time it just right, and you're a king. But if you're going to time it, you've got to keep doing that. I don't know about you, but my batting average is just not that good. But I am patient, and I do my homework. And I think today we got the signal that I was waiting for. Mara's stock opened the day well above $12 a share, which looked promising until, of course, the immediate sell-off that followed. This, I think, is in direct response to the news that was released by Mara that they had completed their entire $200 million at-the-market offering, adding the entirety of that $2 million to their balance sheet. It's not uncommon for announcements like this to put downwards pressure on stocks because the perception of diluting shares doesn't usually sit too well with investors. But in this case, let's face it, mostly traders. It's a short-term knee-jerk reaction. At least we can thank that due to the massive increase that Bitcoin just posted, we still managed to gain 5.5% on the day. But I know that is hardly a consolation prize. But there is some important information that we can derive from this press release. So let's take a quick look at that. Marathon Patent Group, one of the largest enterprise Bitcoin self-mining companies in North America, today announced it had successfully completed its previously announced $200 million shelf offering by utilizing its at-the-market facility. As a result, the company ended the 2020 fiscal year with $217.6 million in cash and 74,656,549 shares outstanding. That's actually not as bad as I was expecting, considering the last posted increase in shares on December 9th brought the company's total number of outstanding shares to about 63 million. So we're only a little over 11 million shares greater. And so here's the thing. Damage done, time to move forward. I know it can be frustrating in these short-term moves, but in effect, what Mara has now done is secured the earliest opportunity for the greatest number of the most efficient miners available on the market. Let's keep reading. Mara intends to utilize the funds from this recent capital raise to pay for the miners it has purchased from Bitmain and further grow the business. To date, the company has purchased 103,060 miners, which, once delivered and fully deployed, will produce approximately 10.36 exahash. 15,200 of these units are scheduled to be shipped in the first quarter of 2021. And the company currently anticipates installing 4,000 units in February, 6,300 units in March, 4,800 in April. After initial deposits were paid, Marathon's remaining balance due to Bitmain was $163 million, indicating that the company's current cash position is more than adequate to cover the costs of all miners purchased as of December 31st, 2020. Now, in one of the previous videos that I did highlighting the battle of the bulls between Mara and Riot, I indicated that Mara would be accepting delivery on a number of miners in January, which is true. And here they indicate that, of course, by the end of February is when they anticipate having those installed. We don't actually know what date in January they will arrive, only that they need to arrive before the end of the month. So now here's where things get interesting. What Mara has done effectively is corner the market on the most efficient miners that are available. Anyone else who wants to buy them now has to wait until next year. I think that gives them an incredible advantage. Unfortunately, this is not how the movers in these stocks think. They sell what's going down and they buy what's going up. It's as simple as that. And it's very hard to anticipate that type of movement unless you're patient. As we've seen, Bit Digital went from $7 to $30 in 5 days. What do you think could happen to Mara in the next 5 days? Who knows? But with my strategy, I'd never have to decide. The biggest difference here is that these other companies have these miners currently installed hashing away. And sure, that's worth something in the short term. But I've already described how the miners that Bit Digital utilizes are older and less efficient. In fact, nearly half its fleet were miners that they acquired from an existing mining operation. There's actually no telling how old those miners are. Of course, yes, they can replace them, but replace them with what and when? I've already described what my concerns are in terms of the risks associated with investing in Bit Digital. And for that reason, regardless of how fast that thing moves or how high it goes, I will not invest in it. My investment strategy prohibits me from doing so. And yes, clearly that means that this opportunity will pass me by. And I am completely, totally fine with that because I recognize that I don't have to swing at every single ball. One of the most important things for me in this space is to manage risk. And investing in a Chinese company that had to shut their offices down in Shanghai and have several of their senior management staff arrested by the Shanghai police with their assets frozen, the company included. If you happen to miss my deep dive into Bit Digital, you can check it out by clicking on the link appearing at the top of the video. I realize that information like this is never what anybody wants to hear once they've invested in a stock. And I fully acknowledge that I don't have the entire story. But for me, that's just it. It's about risk management. I don't have the whole story. And since I don't, I choose not to expose myself to that level of risk. The opportunity here is too great, and there's too many other options to subject myself to that. So yes, in the short term, there are several other opportunities out there. But once you realize the mentality of the people moving these stocks, you'll start to understand that you're far better off standing still, because trying to follow them will most likely get you trampled. In the long term, I think that what Mara has done will turn out to be the right move. Honestly, I wish they could have waited and allowed the stock price to appreciate before diluting, but I understand. And because I have a long-term outlook, I am willing to stick it out. And because they moved so quickly, they've managed to secure the best assets that are available on the market. Stock markets are supposed to be forward-looking. Just because Mara has one of the lowest hash rates today doesn't mean that's how you evaluate the company. You evaluate them on what they plan, on what they forecast. The only thing that could have messed up that deal is if they did not have the funds to finance it, which now they clearly do, with plenty to spare. Completing this capital raise was a milestone for our business, as it provides us with an efficient means of procuring the necessary funds to pay for the miners that we have purchased from Bitmain, says Marathon's chairman and chief executive officer, Marek Okamoto. We operate in a volatile industry in which precedent, timing, and scale are paramount to efficiently driving profitability. The unique relationship we have built with Bitmain allows us to secure a record number of miners, which, because of the substantial increase in Bitcoin's price and subsequent increase in demand for mining rigs, are now being sold in secondary markets at multiples of our purchase price. According to publicly available Bitcoin profit calculators, if all the miners we have purchased were deployed today and Bitcoin's price were $28,000 per Bitcoin, we would produce approximately $618 million in revenue annually and approximately $523 million in gross profit annually. Marathon is clearly on a path to become one of the largest miners in North America, and the capital raise indicates that we are not only gaining important scale, but we are doing so effectively and efficiently. So the key message in there was that they forecasted, even at today's prices, when all miners are fully deployed, gross profits could be about $523 million annually. Even with today's announced dilution, that's over $7 per share. That gives us a forward PE ratio of approximately 1.57. Give me a break. That makes these shares practically free. Fair value on a future PE ratio like that would put this company over $225 a share. And right now you can scoop it up for 11 bucks. That's assuming that Bitcoin's price does not continue to rise faster than the difficulty rate, which, if you've been paying attention, is almost certain to happen. And that's only considering a fair market value. That has nothing to do with what will happen once the FOMO crowd shows up. But first, we need the institutional investors. That'll steady this up and give us a good, solid base. I have no idea when that's going to come, but my prediction is they need to see these numbers hit paper first. They're not going to speculate on this. For now, that's the only crowd we have to deal with. So you got to decide where you want to be sitting once that takes place. Because when it happens, it'll be fast. One more thing. It seems obvious that in this speculative market that we're dealing with right now, people are clearly pricing in a drop in Bitcoin's price, despite Bitcoin being clearly way into overbought territory. The RSI indicators on Mara's stock is very low. So this is where you need to be careful. You might be expecting, if Bitcoin's price drops, Mara will crash. As far as I can see, that's already priced in. And there's no guarantee that Bitcoin's price will, in fact, crash. And again, it also depends on what you define as a crash. How much is Bitcoin's price supposed to pull back? Because if you were waiting for a 20% drop, you already got it this morning. It was fast, but from peak to trough, it was 20%. Were you expecting that to hang around a little longer? Were you expecting it to go lower? How long do you expect Bitcoin to wait for you? It is abundantly clear to me that the people invested in these stocks are not Bitcoin holders themselves. Most don't understand the technology. Most are not in it for the technology. They're buying what goes up and selling whatever goes down. This is going to continue for a great deal amount of time. This is why I try not to get caught up in the technicals, because really they don't mean anything. And I don't need it to go up this week or next month. My investment strategy makes it very clear what I need to do. Although I will admit that I did make one mistake. I chose to go on the fundamentals way too soon. I should have spread myself out to take advantage of the irregularities in this market. But now that I've made my bed, I have to sleep in it. But I'm okay with that. Whatever you choose to do, just make sure you've got an investment strategy and stick to it. When you start breaking the rules, you start losing money. The last time Bitcoin consolidated between 28,000 and 26,000, we saw 2 consecutive days where Mara shot up over 20%, despite no movement in Bitcoin. If everyone expects Bitcoin is going to crash, but instead chooses to consolidate above $30,000 for 2 or 3 weeks, what do you think is going to happen to Mara? And even if Bitcoin does crash, my opinion is that kind of selling pressure is only going to give these institutional investors the opportunity they've been begging for to get their hands on that Bitcoin. The supply shortage in Bitcoin is severely underrated. What I think we're going to find out is that the mining companies themselves have been hoarding it, further depleting the supply of Bitcoin on this open market. I say it every time. Educate yourself. Understand the technology. This isn't just a get-rich-quick scheme. Get obsessed with it. If you spend your time understanding that and studying this technology rather than staring at the charts, I guarantee you will be better off. But as of right now, I fully recognize that the best strategy is simply spread yourself around. And if you're just entering, make sure you cost average. Don't dump everything in one day. But if you're waiting for a much larger pullback, you stand a great risk at missing out on this incredible upwards opportunity. Because based on my understanding, these stocks are going to rise far higher than you can possibly imagine.
I don't know, I can imagine quite a bit.
Fair enough, but don't just use your imagination. Follow your strategy and don't get sucked into following the herd. Let them come to you. But that's all I got for this one. Now let's get back to empire building. Bye.